Each Hallow's End, a haunting voice reverberates across the heavens.
Prepare yourselves. The bells have tolled. Shelter your weak, your young, and your old. Each of you shall pay the final sum. Cry for mercy! The reckoning has come! The sky is dark. The fire burns! You strive in vain as fate's wheel turns!
But what's his story? What led to his current form? Was he always unhinged? Today, we unravel the mystery behind the creation of the Headless Horseman. In the shadowy lands of Tirisfal Glades, just a stone's throw from Agamond Mills, resided Thomas Thomson and his kin, proprietors of a thriving pumpkin farm. As a paladin, he was among those who bore witness to and agreed with the refusal of Uther the Lightbringer and Jaina Proudmoore to accept Prince Arthas's drastic plan to cleanse Stratholme. He was a silent observer as the Scourge wreaked havoc on Lordaeron, and was present when Baron Rivendare treacherously dispatched a shipment of infected grain to a village under his protection. News reached him of Prince Arthas's return from Northrend and the subsequent murder of his father. Thomas was convinced that the seeds of this heinous act were sown much earlier, perhaps as far back as the Stratholme incident. A mere 5 days later, he learned of the tragic demise of Uther and the loss of numerous fellow paladins at the hands of Arthas. In a desperate bid to ensure his family's safety, he instructed his wife and 2 children to seek refuge in Kalimdor, following Jaina, while he stayed behind in Lordaeron with the Silver Hand, vowing to vanquish the Scourge. Over the ensuing 4 years, Thomas, along with other paladins under the banner of the Ashbringer, Alexandros Mograine, waged a relentless war against the Scourge, under the guidance of Saidan Dathrahan, a man he greatly admired. However, the Silver Hand was shattered when Renault Mograine killed his father with the Ashbringer, leading to the founding members of the Argent Dawn departing, swayed by High Inquisitor Fairbank's account. Undeterred, Thomas chose to align himself with the Scarlet Crusade. In a fateful day, Saidan Dathrahan guided Thomas and his companions to a refugee-filled town, where they were welcomed under the pretense of a routine plague inspection. Gradually, Dathrahan persuaded Thomas that the townsfolk were infected, and unlike the incident at Stratholme, Thomas participated in the massacre of the refugees. In a tragic twist of fate, he unknowingly slew his own family, his daughter's face turning towards him just as his blade ended her life. He surmised that the ship he had sent them onto Kalimdor must have been caught in an early storm, damaging it before it could set sail. With Lordaeron in turmoil, there would have been no craftsmen to mend the ship, and the remaining vessels would have been overcrowded, forcing the displaced passengers to seek shelter wherever possible. Shattered by his actions, he was returned to the Scarlet Monastery, where he eventually lost his sanity, convinced the entire world was infected and communicating in verse. He believed he was the sole savior. After slaying many of his former allies on Hallow's End, he was confronted and decapitated. Dathrahan chose to honor the fallen crusader with a dignified burial. Once the tomb was sealed and he was alone with the body, Dathrahan, who was in reality Balnazar, a dreadlord masquerading as the deceased general, used his own blood and demonic energies to resurrect Thomas's corpse, thus creating the Headless Horseman, a being with his own deranged free will. There is a quest you can do to put the Horseman at peace and be reunited with his family. For the Horde, it starts outside of Undercity, and you talk to Orphan Matron Nanny. For the Alliance, you talk to Matron Mother Sequel, which she is outside of Stormwind. When you talk to either of them, you get told that the spirit of Thomas Thomson has called for you and is seeking your help. You get told to go to Scarlet Monastery to locate his spirit and see how you can help. Upon reaching the monastery, Sir Thomas remarks, "The Scarlet Monastery. It appears I am not yet able to leave this dreadful place behind." After accepting the subsequent quest, it is revealed that his wife's spirit is missing. As Hallow's End draws near, the spirits haunting the monastery emerge from the shadows, and he hopes to find answers among them regarding his wife's fate. As you traverse the monastery, various shades are seen reliving their nightmares. Initially, you approach a crusader terrified of the infection spreading from the grain in the area. Upon confronting the crusader, a shade of fear materializes, which you must defeat. 2 more shades appear when confronting spirits, the shade of deception when you confront the shade of Dathrahan, and finally, a shade impersonating Thomas's wife Susanna, the shade of guilt. After defeating the final shade, a thoughtful Thomas rushes ahead. When you catch up to him, Thomas has a new lead. He recalls a fountain where he used to take his wife before the Scourge invasion, a place where he felt confident in himself, in the light, and in his family. As you approach the glowing orb near the fountain, a trap is sprung, ensnaring Thomas. The trap was set by Jerome Hayton, and to free Thomas, you must destroy 3 soul stones scattered in the area. In the process, you discover that Jerome was part of Dathrahan's inner circle, but it seems Jerome was unaware that Dathrahan was possessed by a dreadlord. After you successfully free Thomas, it's too late. He transforms back into the horseman, galloping away into the monastery. Susanna returns to the fountain and kneels beside it. When you converse with her, you discover that on the night he urged her and her children to flee to Kalimdor, he hadn't retired to bed, but was standing guard to protect them, and his eyes reflected desperation. She vows not to abandon him, not now, not ever again. In the final part of the quest chain, Susanna requests your assistance to enter the monastery with her, confront the horseman, and liberate her husband from the curse that plagues him. Upon entering the monastery, you summon the horseman. If you wish, you can interact with the wicker statues at the beginning of the instance to increase the difficulty level, and also you can get an achievement for it. However, in this case, I chose not to do it due to my inadequate gear and the fact that it's my first time tanking in a while. After defeating the horseman, you have freed Thomas, allowing him to reunite with his family and finally rest.
It is done. The Headless Horseman is no more.
Then let us rest, my love. At long last.
My family is whole again, as is my soul. I cannot thank you enough, champions.
And that's the story of the Headless Horseman. Hopefully you did enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.